and just say, well, wait a minute. What if I could just put a beer on the blockchain? What if, at the time, there was no such thing as a non-fungible token, right? Every token was the same. You couldn't distinguish one Bitcoin from another, other than maybe the time it was born, and you can trace its provenance. But they were all the same, like gold is all the same. But what if they weren't all the same? What if you could actually have something that was analogous to real world objects, to physical objects, but the digital aspect of them would be on one side, but the authenticity and the uniqueness and the ability to trace that provenance could all take advantage of this blockchain technology. It's the decentralization of the blockchain that actually gives it that power. Because if the government goes down, or if the company goes down, or if the original creator is no longer there, presumably the blockchain persists because of its mass decentralization and its ability to withstand all sorts of attacks and calamities and business, and government vagaries. So this notion of having all these qualities, check, 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 and now blockchain made me say, oh, blockchain's that missing link to go from an in-game virtual good, which has been around forever, to something that we can psychologically agree is real, has real ownership, and is independent of any game. And that's when I decided to get rid of the games, because I had been a gamer, I had been a big proponent of games, and gamify the world, right? The world becomes the game once you open it up into NFTs. But then the question is, how do you play with it? If you have a wallet and you have an NFT, what does it do? And that's where this notion of metaverse really started to evolve in my mind as we hit like the 2016 realm of R&D and exploration, because the objects themselves are the game.
So this is 2016 you're having these thoughts?
Yeah. Well, I was actually implementing. Yeah.
Jesus. Okay. I can't get my head around that, but carry on.
We were in the team at Vatom at the time. We called it Vatomic, and now we call it Vatom. And so the idea of creating these Vatoms, which were the earliest NFTs, was not, wow, I hope that we can find a greater fool than us to buy it and get it off our hands before somebody else, gets left holding the bag. We did understand that with any new technology, gambling and such things tend to be the first opportunity. And people say, oh, get rich quick schemes and all these, come in. But we started right from the premise that would be short-lived, and that it would always be part of it, but it would go from maybe 95% of the focus to 5%, where 95% really is about engagement for healthcare, education, government, marketing, advertising, coupons, tickets, like real utility, real engagement modalities. And that's where we started, right? And that's the focus even today. And so as you move to the notion of metaverse, we start with this idea of a person, right? This identity. And so you were really mirroring how the brain perceives this plane of reality. Everything you look around and see is a person, place, or a thing. But when you go to the internet, it's not a person, place, or thing. It's a hunk of information that you can kind of wade through. It doesn't feel real. It feels useful. Sometimes a waste of time, but very often useful. But if you're in the real world, useful or not, it's there. And the brain has evolved to have experiences and memories and relationships in the context of the real world. That's our biology. And so as you translate that into this extension of the real world, not replacement, but extension into the virtual plane, you now start to recreate these primitives in a way that our brain absorbs naturally. So identity, moving into that space, controlled by me. I could represent myself any way I want, with avatars or just with video, and my data is my own. Then ownership, which are the objects. Now, the objects now have to be used, have to be interacted with. So the way that you do that is you can interact with that in your wallet, which is essentially a manifestation of your identity, or across the meta plane that extends on this physical plane, right? Across augmented reality, or you might call it extended reality, because unlike augmented reality kind of gimmicks where you hold up your phone and Captain Crunch waves at you and says hello, everyone has a siloed experience. That's a game. But if there's only one, and it's uniquely, independently verified by a third party that you trust, and if I pick it up, it's no longer there, that is a real object, right? So if that starts to manifest in augmented reality, it's no less real than something made out of atoms. So Vatoms by so let's say our vision and our goal is to convince the world that they're no less real, right? So they can retain that value psychologically, and then you can interact with them in augmented space and then virtual spaces. And on the virtual space, the concept was and remains that the model that was so beautiful that got us into this in the first place is not over. In fact, it's just getting going. And that's the model of the web. There are billions of websites of every way, shape, and form. But now those websites on an information topology, what if they now could manifest to the next layer of human interaction with people, places, and things? What if I could show up as myself and I could bring my stuff and I could drop it on a website and someone else could pick it up, or I could find something in the website? And then the idea of the website being a place. It's not really a place today. You don't say, hey, Mom, meet me at cars.com and let's go check out cars. We go, what do you mean, meet me at, it's information about cars. It's not a place to go. Well, yes, it will be, right? That's the meta plane we're layering on top of this internet. So it's a natural evolution. And so there's so many technologies that converge to bring this together, ours being an amalgam of, on the shoulders of giants of many other technologies. Some of which we've written and have pioneered, and some of which we're assembling from genius collaborators and people who have come before us in many areas. Artificial intelligence, augmented reality technologies, amazing devices, the virtual technologies, WebGL. These are not all decentralized technologies. These are technologies. Centralized or decentralized is irrelevant. Where you want the decentralization, you should now apply it. So when we talk about the evolution of web from Web 1 static, Web 2 dynamic and interactive and UGC and all of these capabilities that came in that realm, e-commerce to social media, we now go to the next generation, which is adding people, places, and things. It's really, really more fully integrating our digital and physical lives. And that was the revelation, is that we could bring these elements together now and be part of something much bigger than ourselves, but also make an impact in it, which makes it worth doing and fun.
And then I'm going to cut into the story here. So I got introduced to you by a mutual friend, Anita Sands. Anita said, oh, you should meet this guy, Eric, and look at Vatom. And I looked at the website. It was before you just redone the website. Yeah. And I'm like, I have no idea. It looks pretty crappy. It looks pretty crappy to me. Anyway, I said, I'll take the call. And then I met you and you walked me through what you built. And it was like a holy shit moment to me, because I've been on top of this metaverse stuff for quite a while. And I've seen what people are building. Yes, we know what Epic Games is doing, but we were looking at more of this kind of decentralized version of what a metaverse could be in a usable format. And I'd seen that On Cyber had started using the browser rendering. And I thought, okay, these guys are probably leading. And then I bumped into you, and you unveiled all of the stuff you've already done and the people you're working with, and it really blew my mind. And we will show some of the B-roll as we talk through some of what you've built, but the depth of what you've done already and the experience itself, which will always be improving because as technology improves, is, I think, simply staggering. So talk through what you've built, because people need to get their heads around this, because it's honestly, when people watch this, they'll go, I had no idea, which is what I said to you, is people don't know what you've done.
Yeah, and hopefully they will, thanks to you and thanks to us now being ready, right? There's a lot of R&D and experimentation that has to go into something comprehensive. We're not building a point solution. We're not building a digital wallet that stands alone that lets you buy and sell crypto. It's not interesting to us. We're not building a meeting solution so you can go into the web and run around with your little avatars and run into you. We're not just building NFTs so you can create 1,000 aliens and try to, drop them and hope that people will buy more than they cost you and all of that. What we're doing is we're recognizing that there's a convergence of phenomena that if we were to create an underlying platform, that each of these elements that allows you to create these various kind of point solutions or simple use cases, if each of those work seamlessly together, then you would have the ability to build what we think is the next generation of the internet.
Hey visionaries, thank you for tuning in. For more free crypto content like this, head over to realvision.com/crypto. You'll get early access to the most brilliant minds in the space to cut through the noise, get in-depth analysis, and get you ahead of the curve with unbiased insights.